All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Do you want to tell me your name
My name is Carol Fink
and where do you live?
in Yountville, California,
And how old are you?
75. Proud to be 75.
Here, look at me over this way. Yeah, so you could look at the
I'm
camera.
proud to be 75.
I am proud to be your friend, and I'm proud of you at 75.
I love you.
I love you too. So, do you want to tell me how you found out about the Apple Watch? What date when you found out about it, and any other information?
Last fall, I began to have weakness problems in the leg, and I saw an ad and heard ads for the fall feature of the Apple 5 watch. I already had the Apple 3, and I bought that one for the SOS feature. But when I heard about the fall feature, it was my birthday. I decided to spend my birthday money to upgrade to the watch because I was really afraid, since I was having the weakness in my leg, that I would need it. I didn't know I was really going to need it on March 1st, where it saved my life.
All right, can you tell me about your recent experience with the Apple Watch and how it saved your life?
On the afternoon of March 5th, there was an early Warriors game. So I got home quickly. I was starting to get undressed. And standing at the sink, my femur fractured because I've been on prednisone for a long time. So I heard a bone crack. I wound up with one bone to the left, one bone to the right, and it was excruciating pain. So I put myself down to the floor and I was screaming, but I stopped screaming long enough to turn on my watch, the SOS feature, tell them I'd fallen and I couldn't get up. And the rest was 2.5 hours of the paramedics and fire department trying to get me down the stairs to the ambulance to the hospital. By the time I got to the hospital, the watch had contacted my friends, and 2 of them were at the hospital to meet me. And the rest of them knew I'd fallen and broken my leg, and they were beginning to call to see how I was. And the next day, the watch texted them to tell them I got moved to the next hospital for surgery. I would have died if I hadn't been able to call 911 that afternoon, because I live alone. And people would have left messages, but I didn't have any dates that weekend. Even though I'm 75, I make lots of plans, but I didn't have any plans. So I would have been on the floor and I would have died because I had a shattered femur, the biggest bone in the body. Little did I know that this watch would save my life.
You mentioned that you saw a poster about the watch. Can you kind of describe the poster and what turned you on about
I
that?
saw a television ad with handsome young guys running into the ocean. But the story was, this is a watch that has a fall feature. And I remember thinking, this is odd. They're young and healthy and running around. They're not going to fall. That I have to buy this because I was starting to have the weakness in my leg. And especially today, I realize everyone of an age, instead of wearing some big old button, we should all have this. It's kind of hot looking, and yet it saved my life. And that ad with these young men talking about falling and not getting up didn't really fit for me. But I went to the Apple store to check it out. And the men in the Santa Rosa store really didn't know about that feature. I knew about it because I saw the ad.
And you mentioned the people in the ambulance didn't know about it too?
I've been in 8 ambulance rides, 10 maybe by now, in the last month. And every time I go in when I'm not in too much pain, I show them the watch, I show them the SOS, because none of them in any of the ambulance rigs have been familiar with it.
So your doctors didn't recommend it to you?
Yes, right before I bought it. I forgot. I was in the hospital for a problem, but not a fall. And I asked at that night, all my nurses in the emergency room were wearing an Apple Watch, and I asked them about it, but none of them knew about the fall feature, and they all thought it was fabulous, and I needed it right away.
Go ahead.
The other feature of the watch, the other reason that I bought it, is it taught in the ad with the young men, it talked about if you fall and you're not responding in a minute, and what it does is it asks you, it says, we think you've fallen, are you all right? If you don't answer, supposedly the watch calls the local EMS, the local paramedics or whatever, and lets them know where you are. It knows where you are with the GPS. And I knew that. That was always reassuring because there was always a chance I would fall and be unconscious. In my case, I was conscious. I was screaming in agony. So the first thing I could ask the SOS people was to call a neighbor to come pick up my dog because she would have bitten any of the emergency workers and I was afraid they would shoot her. So I asked them to please call my neighbor. In 3 minutes, he was at the house. And after he got her, I was still awake enough but screaming to give them the code for the garage so they didn't have to break down the door and they were still able to come in because I remembered to call them and ask them to tell them what the code was. This saved my life.
So can you tell me about your Apple Watch?
I educated the CAL FIRE and paramedics in the Napa Valley about this because they didn't know about the feature, the SOS feature, where you can slide it and get the patient's medical history. In my case, I'm a DNR. It has my Kaiser number and my doctor's. It has my allergies. So it has my complicated health history as well as my emergency contacts. That's really useful. And the paramedics can get that off the watch.
Well, can you show me what it looks like?
Yes. You push it in and you hold it in.
And anybody can do that. The paramedics can do that.
And you see where it says medical ID, you slide that.
Okay.
And they can get your medical history. In my case, the DNR, the past medical history, the meds I'm on, my doctor, and my Kaiser number.
Right.
It also has my emergency contacts.
Great. So can you tell me sort of your wish list of what you really want to see happen with the watch?
I would love to see Apple advertise it to older people like me because we need it. We need it instead of some big old button that looks old because this can look hot and it can look sexy and it can save our lives. And I was just thinking, Mother's Day is coming up. If my mom had been alive, this would have been the perfect Mother's Day present. And I think anybody who wants to give a gift to someone they love, anyone who's at risk for a fall, this is a gift of life. And it's not advertised that way. I would love to see it advertised as something, the perfect present or the perfect gift for yourself for someone who is concerned about balance and potentially falling.
I was wondering if you can tell me why you chose the orange watch.
Well, it comes with basic black. I'm a Giants fan, fanatic. My girlfriend got me the orange band to make me smile, and she got me a leather giraffe band because giraffes and the Giants and my dogs are my passion. This makes me smile, and people ask me about it, and they tell me how great it looks, and then I tell them the story about how I bought it thinking it might save my life. I didn't know that it would.
Can you tell me about your history and love and passion for the San Francisco Giants?
About 10 years ago, friends of mine had season tickets because their little boys wanted to see Barry Bonds. And I hadn't been a Giants fan. I was a 49er fan. I went to my first game. We sat above Barry, and I was hooked. I had never seen a player like that. The energy in AT&T Park was unbelievable, and I wound up sharing the next season tickets with them. and watching Barry break the record. And I've been to spring training, including a month after a mastectomy. I was determined after the surgery to get to spring training and see my guys. I just feel the energy watching that team play is the energy I'm feeling now in rehab, trying to get me healed. They play as a team, they don't play as one fabulous player, and they win as a group, a band of brothers. I'm part of a sisterhood of nurses. I've been a nurse for 34 years, 27 years at San Francisco General. But the guys, my giants, keep me wanting to get better. I need to get to a game.